Welcome to the Talking Shh podcast. That's right. We'll be talking about music, albums, live shows, bands we love, bands not so much. Again, we're talking shh. Join me, Scott Nokon, and Stephen James. All right, and we are back again. This is Talking Shh. Stephen, nice job with the t-shirt there. Episode 37, I believe, right? 37. And tonight, or is it 38?
I think it's 38.
Yeah, details, right?
That's why I was making the snowman.
Yeah, it's always a matter of we just continue to forge ahead, and I would say I love it when I went to my other screen just to double check something. 38. I didn't doubt you, Stephen. I doubted myself. 38, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
We got each other's back.
Yeah. So 38. So tonight actually is going to be the first of a few episodes. And let's just call it now, Stephen, because we talked about doing different segments in the year of. Let's call it like kind of the grouping in the year of. And this is going to be 1981. And we're going to spend a few hours, so over a few episodes, don't worry, not all tonight, but a few episodes that are going to focus on the 36, not top, but 36 albums from 1981. And then we want you guys to comment as far as what is your favorite. So there's
And just to interject, I was a freshman in high school in 1981.
Okay. And
so I was like, you're an old motherfucker.
Yeah. And I was not. So 11, let's see, 7 years underneath that. So let's carry the one, do the math. I was in fifth grade. How's that? Yeah.
Right.
How is that possible?
No, you were older than that.
No, I don't know. 11 years old, 81?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know about it. Whatever.
Yeah. Anyway,
math is not our favorite subject.
No, and
rock and roll,
nor do we want it. Yeah, rock and roll. You know, we're about the ones and twos as it relates to music, not math. How's that? You like that? Like
is that 4?
Everybody?
Is that 4?
It is. So, just as an example to whet the appetite, we're going to be hitting on tonight King Crimson, Def Leppard, Dokken, Motley Crue, Krokus, Kiss, U2, The Stones, Rush, Thin Lizzy, Black Sabbath, and Blue Oyster Cult. And in future weeks, I'll just pick out a few ones so that way you guys can make sure you check in. Some Saxon, some Motorhead, some Foreigner.
That's what I'm talking
Journey,
about.
Anvil. Yeah. Anvil's coming through. Nashville. I might go. They're playing like this really tiny place just for nostalgia. Tigers of Pang Tang. John Sykes was a member of Tigers of Pang Tang back in the day who
God
just
rest
passed.
his soul.
Brian Adams, Ozzy Osbourne, Alice, some Genesis. We'll definitely spend some time talking about Genesis.
Phil.
Kicks, very first Kicks record.
Wow.
And of course, Stephen, save the best for last, Iron Maiden. So that's going to be over the next couple of weeks. But tonight, we're going to focus on these, I believe it's 12 records. So
I have to get it was sitting right next to me, the Iron Maiden signed from every band member.
That's awesome.
That is Nico right there. So
yeah.
I tried to look at who was doing what. It's a little confusing. I had to Google who did what, but to have this is such an honor to me. It's like, a piece of memorabilia from Iron Maiden. You can get albums, you can get, you and I both got the recent re-releases of the albums, but anyhow, didn't always good at just jamming the fucking gang. So,
well, right, I usually do that first. So thank you for kind of, leading off with our little kind of segue. Then we bring it back.
Segue.
So,
John Sykes, real quick.
Yes.
Go ahead. Didn't he just pass?
He did. Yeah. So I did on my radio. Sorry, sometimes I get my shows confused. There's so many of them. But no, my radio show just the other night on a Tuesday highlighted a number of tracks from John Sykes, some solo stuff. Many of you may know him from Blue Murder. Fantastic record. I love those tracks. First one, major contributor to Whitesnake, Still the Night, Bad Boys, a number of other tracks that he wrote for them. He was only on one record, and I guess personalities kind of clashed and went separately. Tigers of Pang Tang, which is a band we'll feature in the coming weeks, and Thin Lizzy, which is also on this list, if I recall correctly.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So in that, we'll certainly highlight, and what we were planning this topic before his passing. So if anything, that'll be good just to highlight the genius that he was. So it's great to kind of give him. And I invite you guys, if you go back to YouTube, the tube again. There's plenty of content. There was a solo that he did, and I think I probably still have it up. And I don't know if we want to bring it in really quick or not, but I will go to it here.
I think just an honorable mention when we lose a musician as talented, whether or not as talented, it hits the musical community. The musical community?
Mm-hmm.
The musician, whatever. It hits us hard, and we always recognize those that have lost their lives, whatever it is. He was a phenomenal guitar player. I saw him live with Whitesnake years ago, and whatever that unfortunate departure was, but nevertheless, way too young to lose your life. You know, he was a shredmeister, and thank you for doing that on your show this past Tuesday, because that was a nice homage to him.
Yeah, it was, and it was fun to do because, again, sometimes, and in part because those, obviously, deaths are not planned. Clearly, at least some might be in the rock world, but others not, and it's more a matter of just how, when you get a chance to go back and really enjoy that, right, and experience something that you haven't seen. And absolutely. I'm going to bring this in a little bit if you guys can see it. Can you see it? Oh, yeah.
There you go.
So let's just a little bit. We'll just do this. It's Rock in Rio 1985 when he was in Whitesnake.
Let's do it. It looks good.
It said, looks good. Where's the picture?
Yeah, I didn't even hear anything, but you can tell by you watch his fingers on the fretboard was just ripping it up. So, and a Les Paul. And I don't know if anybody's ever picked up a Les Paul. Those guitars are heavy. Yeah. That is like a solid piece of guitar.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. He was sorry for showing
it's all
that.
Good.
Yeah.
It's all good. He was a force to be reckoned with. You listen to the old Whitesnake albums, probably like the more popular ones, 80s, and I'm not sure did he do like There I Go Again and all that. I'm not sure if he did those. If he did, stellar. But what a force to be reckoned with. I mean, almost Randy Rhoads-ish in a sense. I'll never compare Randy to anybody because Randy was the god, but John Sykes was just a beast.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still playing with my camera, Stephen. That's why I have to adjust my chair.
It's all good. So, it's all good, my brother.
Which, if you're listening, you can't tell, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, again, John Sykes, a number of bands that we will feature on this going forward. So let's kind of just jump in. And I'll preface this, and feel free, Stephen, to kind of jump in. Purposely, these are records that kind of run the course of rock. Some progressive, some metal, hair metal. I don't love that term, but definitely
I don't either.
in that 80s era. But in that, again, we feel we want to just highlight it, and I want you guys, again, as these come out, comment on the bands and what you thought of them, maybe what stood out to you. Definitely, we invite you guys. There's been good engagement with a lot of our content we put out, which we always appreciate.
Sure.
The last show has done really well with a number of views already. And again, we get it when it's an hour and 25 minutes or so.
Thank you.
It's a lot to consume. If you stick with it, we appreciate it. And again, here we are.
Hit the like button. If anything, I mean, we're here to have fun with what we do. talk about music. Scott and I always say, if you have suggestions, if there's something you don't like, if there's something you do like, feel free to comment, because we are big boys and we can handle whatever comes our way. But what we do is fun, and
Yeah.
we want you to have fun with it too. So any suggestions or anything, we are always open for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Makes a difference, and like it and subscribe. We want to
For
continue
sure.
to get the subscriptions. The subscriptions, subscribers allow us to get to another point, and then it opens up other opportunities for the channel. We're going to continue to push in additional content. We may do some live episodes at some point as well.
For sure.
Maybe bring in some guests. So we've kind of all put that out there before. So it really comes down to, again, what we can do to continue just to provide content. So
For sure.
Again, as always. So let's jump right into it. Yeah. So 1981, again, the topic of the day, the topic du jour, 36 albums from 1981, and which was your favorite? We're hitting on 12 tonight. Okay, Stephen. First one, give a little bit of background, and then you can comment on it, so this show doesn't end up, not that you're that you go on. I talk probably way more than we should, but it's a talk show.
Everything works perfectly. So
and it's talking so we want to do it. King Crimson, Discipline, 1981. So this marked a radical reinvention of the band, showcasing a more sophisticated blend of progressive rock, new wave, and world music influences. The album introduced Adrian Belew on guitar and vocals, alongside with the return of drummer Bill Buford.
Bill Buford was up and is still one of the most amazing drummers ever.
Absolutely. And bassist Tony Levine and Chapman Stick becoming a defining feature. Tracks, Elephant Talk, Frame by Frame, intricate polyrhythms, interlocking guitar lines, intellectual lyricism. Record's complex experimental nature helped cement King Crimson's reputation as avant-garde pioneers in the evolving rock landscape.
So they're touring now, as King Crimson, with Dana Carey, who we all know is the drummer for Tool, and Tony Levine or Levine. I'm not sure if I'm spelling it right or saying it right. Is still playing bass with them with that weird little whatever. You guys should Google it because it's good. My brother, and I told Scott this earlier on via text, that my brother was the first one to introduce me to prog rock. And that band I wasn't necessarily so a part of, but the members of that band that are in it are an amazing group of musicians. So
absolutely.
And the fact that they're touring again is kind of fun. If anybody wants to kind of Google the recent version of it, it's really fun. And again, my brother he's hardcore about them. It wasn't that big of a deal about them, other than I get it. They're all amazing musicians, but the music didn't satisfy my taste. So
I've listened to it, and again, we've talked about it a little bit before, and certainly we'll at some point focus on a prog rock, right, like whole episode, and I have one that's built out for a playlist as well on my show. And I was actually wanting to look, without being distracted, what their tours were. So Adrian Belew, Steve Vai, Tony Levine,
Steve Vai,
and Danny Carey, which is pretty awesome. And the dates, because we're talking about, always cool. Like I always like their merchandise, just like their pictures and all that. Let's see, where are they? Buenos Aires in May, and probably come through here. Or did they already play here? Did they? Maybe.
I mean, Danny Carey in Tool is phenomenal. I mean, so to be able to pull off all those, I watched an interesting video today with Mike Portnoy doing a song that they did live and not recorded. It's called Instrumentally, where they took 4 or 5 different songs and intertwined them. And it was that it's a 12-minute, I think about a 12-minute song that he's a year younger than me or 2 years younger than me, and pulled it off verbatim. Can you say verbatim about me playing music?
Yeah.
Okay. If anybody, again, I've turned Scott on to Drumeo, and that's where it was played. And this guy is just an amazing drummer. not to say that the replacement was bad, but Mike Portnoy is truly one of, if I had 5 drummers to go, yeah, who are my 5 drummers? Mike Portnoy is definitely in that. And I didn't mean to take off subject. But
no, well, we do, because we're about giving additional information to fill your brains with knowledge that goes beyond our own comprehension. Right. How's that? Yes. Does that sound pretty good?
Yes, sir. Yeah, sound good.
In, again, no number in particular, but next up on our list of 36 records from 1981. And again, what is your favorite? Def Leppard, High and Dry.
Oh,
their second release served as a pivotal step in their evolution towards global superstardom, right? Produced by Mutt Lange.
Yeah.
He melded the raw energy of their debut with more polished production. And obviously it took itself, not to talk about Pyromania, because we will when we get into 1983.
Yes.
But that record is such a great sounding record.
Absolutely.
And some may say it's overproduced and polished, but I remember back in the day listening to that record before I knew of High and Dry and the first Def Leppard record. Mm-hmm. And then I went back and it's like, oh, these guys are heavier, right? And so High and Dry, Bringing On the Heartbreak's not the heaviest song. Some consider that really the first heavy metal ballad to gain mainstream attention, but certainly the title track, High and Dry, had that, and a lot of hard rock riffs. The melodies, they've always just been excellent in melodies. So they really solidified their place in the new wave of British heavy metal. So Def Leppard, High and Dry.
Good album.
Yeah.
Definitely a good album. Def Leppard, interestingly enough, was not on my huge list when I was in the 80s. I was like, they're a little bubblegummy, but as I started listening to the way the music is written and the vocals and the harmonies, it was like, oh wait, this is a good band. I like Def Leppard. And Isabel, oddly enough, still has an album and a concert t-shirt from when they toured back in the 80s, which is amazing.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
I'm all down with Def Leppard for sure.
Yeah. Dokken is next on our list.
Wow.
And I'm curious only because it's not like we do extensive planning, but this says Breaking the Chains, 1983. So this is 81, folks. Why is that on our list? So let me just do a quick on-the-fly fact check before you guys jump in and like just spew all over us with, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? But Breaking the Chains, and even if it is, again, I thought it was 81. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's why this is on here, Stephen. Debut, which I still have in vinyl in my vinyl closet. Vinyl closet. It's a closet, but there's vinyl in it, so it's a vinyl closet.
Sounded good.
Yeah. This was released in Europe initially on the French label Careen Records in 1981. There we are. It falls into 1981. By definition, it's an 81. They then later went on and released it in 83 in the US, but in this case, we are talking overall releases. So 81 in France, Europe, and 83 in the United States. But for this purpose, so there are enough of a disclaimer around the date. But Breaking the Chains, again, the debut record. I remember when it came out, and maybe I heard a import first because there was, let's see, if you went to these places, there was Zed Records in Cerritos, and then there were a few other record shops, these mom and pop, and probably like a one-of-one store. But it was really cool. There was so many, and Wild Rags was in Montebello, which was another place I went to. And then later on, when I was a few years later, when I worked at Music Plus, which we talked about before, for some reason they gave me
most favorite jobs ever.
Yeah, they gave me the responsibility of ordering the records, not all the time, but enough of the time. And so what I would do, because you would just log into the old DOS prompted computer, right? And I'd find imports, and I'd order them, and I'd pay for them. But you could get some really cool limited. But if it's available in the catalog, you just go, yep, order.
Yeah.
Then when my paycheck would come, I spent half of it on records, and then I'd ride my bike home. So anyway, I digress. With Dokken breaking the chains again, their debut record, to me, next to Rat, one of the better sounding metal bands in that
I
in
like
that era.
Dokken.
In that era,
Dokken back then.
Melodic hard rock, George Lynch. Lynch, his guitar solos. Don Dokken, great vocalist. I know some may kind of hate on it, but I got a buddy of mine, Chris, who that's one of his top singers, Don Dokken. And he's talked about it. And it's like, all right, you know what? I can appreciate that because I've always liked the band. Breaking the Chains, such a great track. Paris is Burning. Again, catchy riffs, riff-driven rock. But also it worked on the radio if it mattered, but they were able to kind of blend in nicely. Definitely at this point when on their debut, they went into cult status, and they never were like the biggest of the biggest. They probably made it to headlining status and probably did some shows like Long Beach Arena size, like most of those bands did off platinum, multi-platinum success off of a record or two. But I remember a show they did at the Hollywood Palladium with Leather Wolf opening, and that's the location where Alone Again was filmed as well at that show. So Dokken breaking the chains.
Yeah, and I was talking to Scott prior to the opening up because we finally realized it was smart to do a sound check before we go on.
It matters. Yeah,
I used to go to a bar back in Torrance, California called the Rain Tree. It no longer exists. It was like a little corner thing. And I used to party with Don and Jack from, what's that?
Great White.
White.
Yeah.
And so that we would just kind of hang out. And Don wanted to start a solo thing. And he had hit me up. Somebody had said that I play drums. And he's like, hey, are you interested in doing a solo album with me? I'm like, yeah, let's absolutely.
Hey, you want to make a movie?
Yeah, you want to, which never came to fruition. Yeah. It's fine, but I always had an affinity for Dokken. George Lynch first of all, is just a phenomenal guitar player. Don back in those days had a voice. I think they still do shows, and it's not that voice. But what I love is that he's still out doing what he likes to do, and that's what it's all about. Is doing what we like to do. But that album for sure was one of the premier albums that came out and said, oh shit, here we go. Let's do another good metal rock album.
Absolutely.
So, I'm down with it for sure.
No, that's for sure. And I know recently, and it might still be out there on eBay, you could bid for his Harley. Maybe in 1986, I might have the year off, but I want to say it was in the 80s. It could be yours. Okay. It could be yours if you want it to be. It may closed out by now. I remember right before Christmas time they were doing it, and I think the price was like, up to like $12.5 or something like that. So.
Harleys typically don't lose their value, which is an interesting thing. My brother, here we go, just bouncing out of our movies and our stuff. My brother had a Harley, a really nice bike. He got it for a really dirt cheap price and actually got into an accident probably last year, broke a couple ribs, and was like, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And we went to go visit them a couple months ago. My mom lives with my brother up in Washington, Walla Walla. And I said, so are you done with the bike? And he goes, I'm not sure. I think I might want to get back into it. So Harley Davidson motorcycles do not really lose their value.
Yeah.
What does this have to do with music? I have no idea.
Well, because I went there. I took us there with Don Dokken, and then
nice guy, by the way.
His Harley that he was selling, and maybe because he reached that same decision to say, I'm mid-60s easily.
Yeah.
Don, not me, Don. And it's time just to kind of let that bike go. I get it. I've never been a bike owner, but
But think about riding a bike in LA traffic. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
it's
useless.
ridiculous. Yeah.
And my brother was
always be
driving on a road that doesn't have many people, and somebody pulled in front of him, and anyhow. So
yeah,
he's fine. We're all good. But yeah, driving in Los Angeles, where I live, and Scott used to live, you wouldn't want to ride a motorcycle here.
Well, even in Nashville, you wouldn't want to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like people. If you're going 80, you're going too slow.
Holy shite!
Yeah, and I don't think they had they offered driver's ed, so it's like if you can just scrape by on your driver's test and get your license, and assuming everyone has a license, which may not be the case, yeah, it's it can be a little bit of an adventure. So,
can you hear that movie in the background? Just out of curiosity,
the adult film that's on the TV outside of view of camera.
Right here.
I can't. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give me 2 seconds to tell them to turn down real quick?
Yeah.
Or is that going to fuck things up?
No, because we're live. We're just going to keep going. So
all right, let me just give me 2 seconds to just say.
I'm going to tease the next album. Yeah.
Do it.
So as we move on, next album that we're going to highlight from 1981, Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love. So Too Fast for Love, again, I remember when that came out, again, just was this raw self-release debut. Again, it got later remixed and reissued on Elektra Records, but the initial was on Leather Records. And so if you had a copy of that, which you would have been able to buy out of the back of a car back in the day from Nikki Sixx, then you got a gem, because those original pressings were limited at best, and Steven's back and we didn't even know it. Again, the album captures the unfiltered energy of the LA glam rock scene, talking Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love.
Oh my God. Let's talk about that.
Do it yourself, production aesthetic, and just punk inspired edge. Definitely like Live Wire, Piece of Your Action. Such fantastic songs.
Absolutely.
Really highlighting the signature mix. Too Fast for Love became a blueprint. Wow, that too. See, we almost made it through. A blueprint.
You did it. You were good. You're good.
For the, dare I say, glam metal movement, combining gritty hard rock with theatrical, rebellious.
Not then.
Yeah.
I don't think not then.
They certainly were about the theater. Look,
the theater. Yeah. So I saw them, and I told you the story. We probably on an earlier broadcast we did. They played at Santa Monica Civic.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that still exists. Nikki Sixx used to do a weird bass solo, and
so he played then, right? So I guess that's proof that he actually
there
played.
wasn't that was controversial. Anyhow,
yeah.
So I saw them right when that album came out at Santa Monica Civic, and it was like one of the coolest things ever. It's like that. Honestly, I think was other than Kiss, and we'll talk about that eventually.
Yeah.
But that was like in your face, like they were like right in front of me. And it was so cool to see that heavy metal band play and just in your face. And that album, personally, to me, is the quintessential Motley Crue.
Yeah, I really like that one. I do like Shout at the Devil a lot.
I do too.
But since we're talking Too Fast for Love, definitely Piece of Your Action, Live Wire, those I could listen to over and over and over again. Just such great tracks. And it did, like, just, 81. Come on. Like, that was a long time ago. That was, bearing whatever that word is supposed to be. It really launched them into just the whole next stratosphere for sure.
Absolutely.
Krokus is another band that I've always been a fan of. I thought Mark Storace always had a cool voice, and Storace, come on, how many times can you say that? Definitely Bond.
Don't say it 3 times fast.
Yeah, vocals. You would think that he could have, and maybe he would have, dare I say, a better job, but could have been representative of filling in for Brian Johnson in AC/DC
easily
a few years back. I know Krokus, today now in 2025, they came to, I think they played in 24, like at the Whiskey, or they ended up canceling. I should double check that, but again, it's like they were, I saw them a few times back in the day. Maybe like at a Santa Monica Civic, at an arena or two where they opened for some bands. And again, thought they were always a good band. Again, certainly an AC/DC inspired sound off of this record in '81, which is entitled Hardwire. Burning Bones and Winning Man were kind of the more kind of highlighted tracks off that. And again, after this record, this really gave them opportunity to kind of get out of Europe and then tour the world and certainly make an impression in the United States.
Yeah. I mean, I know the band, not one of my go-tos, not to say that they're not good, but as we all have our like, oh, I like this band, I like that band, I like this band. But Krokus is a good band. I mean, they've been around forever. And I mean, I do know a few of their songs, but not in my personal, like, yeah, I'm going to listen to that band because I probably haven't listened to them since the early 80s.
Yeah, definitely. And I think part of it.
But it's good to bring them up because they do definitely need a nod.
Yeah. So you mentioned this band earlier, and so we're going to jump right into it. Kiss. Music from the Elder. They had just have a title from that just to make it even more obnoxious of just having a title of the Elder, but music from the Elder. Bold departure for sure for Kiss. They experimented with a concept album rooted in progressive rock and storytelling. The album revolves around a fantastical narrative of a young hero embarking on a quest with tracks like The Oath and A World Without Heroes, blending theatrically with softer, more introspective moments. Despite its ambition, and I want you to comment on this, Stephen, for sure.
I will.
Despite its ambition, the album alienated many fans, maybe one right here, many fans expecting the hard rock Kiss was known for and was a commercial disappointment. However, it did gain a cult following as one of the band's most unique projects.
I remember when it came out. I've been a Kiss fan since the early 70s. I started playing drums, and I started playing drums to old Kiss. And when this album came out, I didn't know what to think. It was, A World Without Heroes, I think it was like the first video they put out on MTV. And it in the Kiss community probably pushed everybody out like, what in the F is this stuff? I mean, I didn't like it at all. I do, however, like one song from that entire album. It's called I, which refers to being you and not giving up on yourself. And it's a good rock and roll tune. That is it as far as that album is concerned. And even Kiss says the same thing. They're like, this was shit. Yeah. I've heard interviews from Paul Stanley. Maybe not so much Gene, but Paul Stanley was like, this was the worst thing we ever did. And that was actually the last of Ace Frehley in Kiss, because there's a video, and actually a live video that he did with that song, but that was it. Eric Carr was playing drums, and then I believe they recruited Bruce Kulick after that, and that was the rise for the next show we'll talk about.
Yeah, definitely. From a critical review perspective, and it being a commercial disappointment, if you look, and again, going online, if you look, it's somewhere anywhere from 500 to 600,000 sales worldwide. And again, coming out in 81, so over 44 years old now. Some have a little bit more content. So, if you look at SoundScan, it's probably 400,000 in the U.S. So let's just say, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, even on a stinker. They've sold 100 million records.
Stinker is right.
Yeah,
sorry.
No. Selling 100 million records worldwide of their catalog, which is 45 records, give or take. They did anywhere from the 500,000 to 1 million. So again, on the lower end for sure.
I mean, that band with their success made money no matter what, because they came out with, I think
toothbrushes, coffins,
yeah, coffins, this, that, and the other, restaurants. I mean, Gene is all. I always said that Gene's pupils were dollar signs. whatever he could make, and it's Gene.
Yeah.
But I think it ended up launching them into like, oh shit, I think we need to change our motto.
Yeah.
Which could be again another show where they shred the makeup and went, okay, let's do and their makeupless rock and roll was actually pretty freaking good.
Yeah, definitely. As we, and again, if you guys are joining us about 37 and a half minutes in, which again, since it's recorded, why you would start at 37 minutes in. But if you did, again, we're talking about records from 1981, and this will be the first show of many. But before we get into a few other albums,
let's do it.
What I really want to do is talk about Wheelie Q.
Yes,
so
thank you.
Wheelie Q Barbecue, WHEELYQ.com. Back when Colin and Kyla were hand filling hundreds of barbecue sauce bottles in their kitchen, they had two simple yet powerful goals: craft a delicious barbecue sauce from simple, honest ingredients and use their business to make a difference. That's how Wheelie Q Barbecue came to life. Colin, who was born with spinal muscular atrophy, has faced the challenges of a life-altering condition with incredible resilience. When his condition forced him to quit his job in 2013, he didn't give up. Instead, he turned his passion for barbecue into a thriving family business. Wheelie Q isn't just about great flavor, it's about raising awareness for SMA and donating a portion of profits to fund research for a cure. Yes. Today, Wheelie Q Barbecue is producing their original recipe barbecue sauce by the thousands and expanded their product line to include barbecue rub, salt, pepper, and garlic, seasoning, and ancho espresso seasoning. At Wheelie Q, every bottle sold supports a greater cause, and every seasoning will elevate the flavor of anything you cook. Thank you for choosing Wheelie Q and helping Colin and Kyla make a difference one delicious meal at a time. Again, that's WheelieQ.com, WHEELYQ.com. And at checkout, code still active, TSP20. That's TSP20, 20% off at checkout. And Stephen, I'm probably going to, we got this weekend coming up. We have the AFC and NFC championship games.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of football or not, and if you're a fan of the four remaining teams or not, I thought it was fitting. I went and picked up a pork shoulder butt yesterday.
Yum!
A big old piece of meat. And I'm going to throw it on the smoker probably at like 3:30 a.m. on Sunday.
Nice.
And it takes about 12 hours.
Nice.
So I'm going to pull it. You don't slice it. I'm going to rip it all
apart. I'm going to get my plane ticket and I'll be there.
Please do. Yeah. You got time to get here, but I'm going to use some Wheelie Q rub on that.
Absolutely.
Put some mustard as a binder, put the rub on it and just let it cook away. Low heat for 12 hours. And,
for sure.
Then have all the accoutrement with it. Maybe some
slaw, maybe some beans. Oh, French of you.
Maybe have a beverage or two.
Of course,
watch the game. So
it goes without saying. Every time I barbecue, you got to have a cocktail while you're grilling. And this has nothing to do with our show. I live in Southern California, and our Los Angeles community has been devastated by an extremely rare event that basically took out two towns completely. Yeah. Over 5,000 structures have been lost or damaged. People displaced. Firefighters putting in the risk of trying to save these. So if you can, go to the Red Cross. Don't fall for scams. There's a lot of scams going on, which is horrible. But if you can give and help these people, our new president is here today, I think, as of now. Yeah. And I'll keep those comments to myself. But hopefully, we can help support. Isabel and I have already given over $500 to the Red Cross to help these people and in times of need. So Wheelie Barbecue, of course, we want to do support, and also, and I'm not trying to take away from them, but in Los Angeles or in dire need of help. And we're supposed to get a lot of rain finally, and it's only been, I think, over 225 days or 250 days since we've had rain here, which was interesting because I watched how Florida and the Big Easy got snow. It's like, what?
And your, definitely it's just the sad state of affairs that's going on.
It's horrible.
And, the recovery will take years for some. They'll never recover. Lives were lost. Structures can always be rebuilt.
Yeah, absolutely.
The memories will last, but still it's painful. And it's not all millionaires and celebrities.
No.
It's not. There's musicians that were impacted. I share it on all of our social pages, and I might share it again because it's still needed. A number of resources to go to. And there's also, it's really cool. And they're actually making a drawing tonight. So Mike Stringer of, excuse me, I'm having a coffee.
All good.
We almost make it, Stephen, and it's just like,
well,
what's the name of that?
Yeah,
what's the name of that band? There was
the whole idea of,
I can't remember it.
Yeah,
there's no reason why.
To my age.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, it's right there, and it's going to be so silly when I go, I know exactly who you are. I know what band you're in. And I can't remember because sometimes it just is ridiculous.
It eludes us from time to time, especially Wheelie Q Barbecue. That is an amazing contribution to help them with their amazing plight. They have great product, but again, when you look at it, you're going to help somebody to save what they're suffering from.
Yeah.
And whether it's, look at, if it's $1, that's fine. You gave. It doesn't need to be extreme amount of money, but just a handshake, a smile. These people lost not only homes, but they lost businesses. They lost their cars. I mean, I'm wow. In order to pull this apart in this show, be grateful for what you have.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I remember, thank you for that, Stephen. And definitely it's more than thoughts and prayers. There's action you can do too. But Mike Stringer, guitarist of Spirit Box. Oh, why I forgot Spirit Box, but they're doing a raffle since closed as of probably earlier today, maybe yesterday. But I went ahead and contributed to it with all the money's going to go to charities.
Nice.
That can help fund the fire victims. And if I win, fantastic. And I will show it here prominently. And if I don't, the money went for a great cause. It's a guitar, amp, and like some pedals. It's a whole kit put together that, again, somebody's going to win it. So again, I think that's pretty awesome. So let's jump in now. And
all right, let's go back.
Such important pieces. But as we continue.
We derailed.
Yeah, no, we're good. Those were necessary.
Ooh,
and as we talked about Wheelie Q, and what I'm going to be doing this weekend specific to, and when I say my meat, I mean like smoking for food there.
Oh, you're so funny.
In that, we're also going to be looking to add some additional sponsors, supporters of the show. So look for that in the coming episodes, in the coming weeks.
Absolutely.
As well. So now continuing in 81, and again, we're over the next few shows, we're highlighting 36 releases from 1981. The next one on our list is October from U2.
What a great album.
Second studio album, characterized by its spiritual themes and raw, emotive sound, really building on the anthem style of their debut, Boy. Album explores the band's growing sense of faith with songs like Gloria and Rejoice, conveying both vulnerability and defiance. While not as commercially successful as the later albums, and that's a tough row to hoe to catch up to what they did. October showcases a band in transition, grappling with personal and artistic identity. Its earnest and atmospheric style laid the groundwork for U2's rise as one of the defining bands of the 80s, for sure.
What's interesting about that band is like there's people that just hate U2 and there's people that love U2. I was fortunately turned on to them by my brother, who's 4 years older, who is obviously the prog guy that turned me on to Rush, Brand X, Genesis, Yes, all these old bands. And U2 was an interesting accoutrement, I guess that'd be kind of fun. We're just talking about
Yeah,
food.
let's do that.
To the music that I've learned to know. And everybody listen, when you're listening to the radio, or whether it's XM or radio, terrestrial radio, you'll hear a U2 song, and usually it's more of their popular pop songs, and it's like, whatever, it is good. And we've talked about this numerous times that I finally got to see them at the Sphere in Las Vegas. I just go more as of a talented band more than their songs. I'll pull their songs out of this equation. These guys are amazing musicians. They have, they've been doing it. It's like you and I have been doing this for a long time. We could go tomorrow and go into a jam room and play probably 98% of the no-con songs easily, because it's written into your blood.
Yeah.
But this band, and October's is not on my radar as far as the best album. It's a great album, but as they progressed, I think because back then they were known as, they were on their plight to, eradicate starvation or whatever their plight is.
Right.
But I believe this band, to me, is, and October's a good song as I'm looking at the track list right now, but a really good band. And again, a lot of people are like, it's U2, but you know what? Come with me to a next U2 show and reevaluate what you think about them, because it was truly one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Yeah, for sure. And, I didn't, I knew who they were early on, but back in this, and when it came out, I wasn't listening, admittedly, to U2. I was metal,
Yeah, me too.
And then I circled back around later, and Unforgettable Fire, which was the record after this, then the one of the best records of all time, Joshua Tree.
Oh my goodness!
Which I'll still listen to on occasion when I'm driving into work. And there's first 4 to 5 songs, 4 for sure. Another topic we'll do, Stephen, where you can say what 4 records, 3 to 4 records in a row were iconic that held on their own. You could dig into U2 for sure.
Absolutely.
But then on a particular record, how many songs deep are just bangers? And there's even a topic, which again, we always like to tease topics. Which records would you consider a 10? And we'll approach that, sometime later this year.
Absolutely.
Again, very subjective, but again, we're about doing that. There's another band that I saw in the early 80s that I was a casual fan to, and I had an appreciation, but if a song comes on the radio, I'm not really listening to it these days. Enough of a tease. I'm talking about the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones, Tattoo You in 81. Mm-hmm. Again, a return to form for the Stones, blending rock and roll swagger with radio-friendly hooks, compiled from unreleased tracks spanning the previous decade, which in a way, I guess if it's the return to form, these are all tracks that they've written in the past decade. So why they didn't make a record, that's always kind of debatable, as why weren't they good enough? Start Me Up, very good song, definitely was a global hit and an unforgettable riff. Waiting on a Friend, again, how these didn't make their way onto records before, just those two,
right.
And then again, this is coming from someone who's not a Stones fan. Really, those 2 tracks definitely stand out. That Waiting on a Friend was a soulful ballad featuring Sonny Rollins on saxophone, balancing high energy rockers with bluesy mellow tunes. Tattoo You became one of their best-selling records. Again, kind of interesting with the unreleased tracks from the previous decade. And it really did reaffirm their relevance as rock legends into the 80s. With 45 years later, they're going to be going on another tour soon.
Yeah,
they came through Nashville.
Dodger Stadium,
they came
Rose
through,
Bowl or something.
Yeah, right. They came through Nashville 2 years ago, playing the football stadium, Nissan. And I'll just pull them up again to see what they're going to be doing lately. But you would have thought back in 81, and during that, and somewhere between 81, 82, 83, 84, they were already playing stadiums at that point.
Yeah,
I know there was much. I saw them, I forget the opener, though it may have been actually Living Color. And there was another band, I can pull that up and look for it, that the Stones played. I went to that show in
No,
at the
lucky
LA
you.
Coliseum. Yeah. And then I saw them again at the Rose Bowl in '94 with Chili Peppers. So again, very and at some point in the future, Stephen.
I think what's more awesome than that is that you got to see Elton John, and that probably should be one show by itself, because there's a really good documentary on Disney right now about him and his.
Yes.
So anyhow, sorry. Wow, look at me derailing it once again.
No. So yeah, they have dates now. Stones, that is, out there, and let's just see on their official website where they're. So this was kind of a continuation of their Hackney Diamonds, which was their latest record. Upcoming dates. So check back for latest tour dates. So yeah, there's nothing announced. Seems like right now, but
I'm a little partial with the Stones. I'm like, I don't hate them and I don't like them.
Yeah, I think that I'm probably more in there. I certainly don't hate them. I'm not the biggest fan, but at the same time, it's like I won't. And sorry to jump in here, Stephen.
No.
I won't continue to go through and listen to them all the time. But then there's some bangers for sure, right?
But you know what's cool about them? They're still out doing it. That's, to me, is what drives me to keep playing drums.
Yeah.
Like they're still going out doing it. He's over 70 and having fun. If you watch him jump around on stage, you can Google it. He's got so much energy. Again, are they sloppy? Yeah. That's what's cool about them. Unfortunately, Charlie Watts passed away, but it's the Rolling Stones. My wife has a friend that's just completely into them. She's like, she'll go to every concert, whatever, whenever they come out, they'll go see them. And it's like, yeah, it's a good band. Again, I'm not a huge Stones guy, but I have an appreciation for guys that just want to keep getting up and doing what they love to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Ended up in the United States going 4 times platinum.
Jesus Christ.
Overall, probably, in the 5 million range. And again, if you look over the time, what's more impressive for the Stones, and again, they're no slackers at all when it comes to overall record sales, for sure, but it's their longevity that allowed them to do it. And again, I'll take a 4 million, album sale, of course.
Absolutely.
Tattoo You was their 16th UK and 18th US studio record. Again, like we said, it was kind of a, I don't want to say throwaway tracks, but certainly, what was pulled together from the previous 10 years. Again, very, very interesting overall in regard to, how it ended up being their one of their biggest selling records.
Right.
Also coming in around in the 200s with Rolling Stone, top albums of all time.
Yeah, that's, again, a good band. I mean, they're still doing it. There's a few members that have, passed on, but they still get out there and they still get out and do it. And I think I applaud them for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
And they were really, really busy in the 80s, 80, 81, 83, 86, 89. Those were all releases that they had.
Wow.
And tours, let's see, because I was talking about when they played at the, a lot of tours. Bear with me for a second to get here. So Voodoo Lounge, that was 94. So I would have seen, that's when I saw them at the Rose Bowl. Steel Wheels, 89 to 90.
Steel Wheels, sure. I remember that.
That might have been it. Let's see.
I remember that.
Last tour with Bill Wyman. And let's see, tour dates.
And if those that you don't know, Bill Wyman was their bass player.
Yes. Let's see. This is riveting radio and video as I scroll, and I'm almost there, I'm sure. Here's Los Angeles. So not too shabby, Stephen. In 1989, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 sold out nights at the LA Coliseum, 360,000 attendees. And okay, forgive me for forgetting who else was on the bill. Living Colour.
Wow.
Guns N' Roses.
What?
And the Rolling Stones.
Shut up.
Yeah. I was there.
Oh.
$9.2 million gross. Not bad. It's not gross. That's what they actually made in ticket sales.
And Living Colour, Guns N' Roses, and the Stones. Interesting lineup.
Yeah.
I can get in Living Colour and Guns N' Roses, but whatever. I mean, said and again in previous shows I've talked about Guns N' Roses, and I saw them when Appetite first came out and at a small club, and it was phenomenal with the original members.
Yeah, definitely. The other tour I've seen them 3 times, and so
wow,
I'm drawing a blank on that. But the last one, when they were on Virgin Records at the time when this release came out in '94, and went with my wife to the show, October 19th and 21st, and in the row, and if Papa G, if you're listening, Kari War was sitting next to us.
He used to have a crush on her.
Kari War. Yeah.
He used to have a crush on her.
Red Hot Chili Peppers and Buddy Guy.
Wow.
Buddy Guy opening Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Stones. And while we're on the Stones, let me tell you, so after the show, Stephen, because this was right around the record was out. Let's see, the record was out. Doesn't matter when, but the record came out. And then in downtown LA at the, let's call it like a Masonic temple, they had an after party. Red carpet, photographers, the elite of Hollywood, and Scott was there. And Scott, no, I'm not putting myself in the elite. I'm just saying in that. And I remember walking up with my wife, and we to get in, and she worked at a record label at the time that the Stones were on, and we're walking up, and people are like, "Who is that?" I don't know. And so some pictures. There's pictures out there, Steven, somewhere. They didn't know who it was. Let's just take a picture. And we go in, and I won't make this the entire. Maybe we're talking about crazy parties, in a future episode, but you go in there, and this was a wild night. This was an after show party that was just freaking ridiculous. I'm trying to remember I think they even had a band playing. I can't remember. I'll have to look at that to remember who was playing there. But just there were, was Brad Pitt there? Probably, they're just celebrities, and it was right there in Hollywood. And I remember the next morning took me a while to kind of get moving, because that was a long evening that probably stretched into, the sun wasn't coming up yet, but let me tell you, and back then when you're early 20s, you had a little bit more endurance.
Plus there was probably a lot of blow.
Yeah, so none of that though. None of that.
Sorry,
none of that.
I tease
alcohol.
Everybody.
Just
it's
alcohol.
Just a joke.
Probably was though, because there was, beyond the
Not
red
us,
carpet.
but them.
Yeah, beyond the red carpet, then there was a with the private. There was a lot of people there, but then there was a separate room. That's where the Stones were at, and you basically you weren't getting in there unless you were like it's it.
Yeah, right. I bet
it was something else. So just the whole scene, and there was quite a few of those events that I remember. But it was just cool. Started with a fantastic show at the Rose Bowl, great seats, great sound. I didn't remember Buddy Guy opening, and probably just because if you've been to the Rose Bowl, it's not the easiest place to get in and out of.
No.
So we probably missed them by the time we got there. Saw the Chili Peppers. And they were huge at that point.
Yeah.
In '94, and then the Stones. So pretty cool.
Wow.
All that had nothing to do with 1981, but it had something to do with Rolling Stones. So I thought I'd give that information to.
Yeah, interesting, because I would have. I mean, if I ever had the chance to go see them, I would have gone, but I wouldn't necessarily put out money to go see them, because it's like, okay, yeah, you're either a Stones fan or you're not. Yeah, I'm not a huge Stones fan, but I like them.
Yeah. I will say in '94, we were given the opportunity to go to the show, so didn't have to pay. So there.
What's next, though, Mr. Black Sabbath?
Well, not Black Sabbath yet, but coming up, though.
Next. I thought it was next.
I can say that. But we're going to go to Rush, Exit Stage Left.
Let's do it.
Again, live album, Exit Stage Left, live album. Do I have it on the wall? Yeah, I do.
One of my most favorite live, and not so much because it's live, it was because the Geddy Lee had, to me, on that record, had the most amazing bass tone I've ever heard. Yes, I play bass, I play guitar, I play drums. Bass and guitar, or bass and drums have been my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I bought a Rickenbacker. I wanted to emulate whatever he did. I learned to play the songs off that Moving Pictures album. But that bass tone, like for those of you if you get this far, Google Red Barchetta Exit Stage Left Live and listen to that bass tone. It is just remarkable. And it never was reproduced after that, but to me was like the pinnacle of, and I actually did get to go see that tour, which was phenomenal.
That's still, we talked about this, Stephen, episode 1, right? Way back in the day.
Yeah.
Never saw U2, still could. I think this is an exact quote.
They'll come back.
Never
again.
saw Rush.
They won't come back.
Never
again.
will. But yeah, Exit Stage Left. Again, you did a great job, so I don't even need to step on any of those words and add to it. But a live album captures Rush at their peak, showcasing technical brilliance, progressive rock mastery, recorded during Permanent Waves and Moving Pictures tours. Permanent Waves is phenomenal as well.
Yep.
Features fan favorite tracks like Tom Sawyer, Close to the Heart, YYZ. Again, highlights the trio's remarkable musicianship. Geddy Lee's bass and vocals, as you talked to, and I'm still finishing up Geddy Lee's book. So
I need to get it.
Yeah, get it. It's a good read. It's a good read.
Life. Yeah.
And
real quick on that, I just have to get back in.
Do it.
If you watch Neil Peart on that album and all the sound effects he played it live. He had bells, he had wind chimes, he had crotales, he had timbales. Everything that you hear on those albums, he did live. As they matured, it was all electronic, so he could just, it was a small pad. But to watch that, if anybody's gotten this far, watch that whole thing. It's truly a remarkable piece of art that I still to this day am admired by.
Widely regarded as one of the greatest live albums in rock history.
Good. So good.
Yeah.
So good.
So at the top of the show, sorry, Stephen, top of the show, and he is not on this record. So I'm gonna state the name John Sykes. Yeah. But he is not on this Thin Lizzy record, I believe. And I'll just want to double check briefly.
OG Thin.
But yeah, this is Renegade. Again, Thin Lizzy's 11th studio album. Let me just start by saying this. I was never into Thin Lizzy. Again, it's not that I disliked them. I just didn't pay attention to them. But certainly when you break it down, and the fact that they were formed back in 1969, which, supports having 11 records, they were very productive. Phil Lynott, who passed away, and Gary Moore was in there for a short stint. Snowy White, who was on this record, and then John Sykes replaced Snowy White in '82. So another year later, when John Sykes was part of the band. However, in that, and Whiskey in the Jar, I didn't realize that was an original
Such a great song.
Boys Are Back in Town, of course, I knew that. But this record, Renegade, Thin Lizzy's 11th studio album, blending signature rock style with hints of experimentation. Album's darker tones reflect his struggles at the time, which later led to his passing. Introspective tracks like Renegade and Angel of Death. Guitarist Scott Gorman and Snowy White deliver powerful riffs and solos, while Lynott's poetic lyrics add depth. Though not as commercially successful as their earlier albums, Renegade has earned respect for its ambition and raw emotion.
There's a handful of songs I like about this band. He was not only he played bass and sang, and they actually, I think they still are together with the original drummer.
I think so.
And a guy that similarly looks like the singer, Darren. But I've always kind of liked this band. It's not one of my I got to go to. But if you listen to it on the radio and it turns on, you're like, Yeah, I'll listen to it. It's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And there's many, I know it's been talked about. Brian Slagle, who is the
Yeah.
founder and owner of Metal Blade Records, he's doing a podcast now about the
Oh, I didn't know
top
that.
100 metal songs of all time. So each episode has a different guest. May not be an artist that played on it, but an artist that has appreciation. And I don't recall if he did Thin Lizzy yet. I'm sure he will, but definitely that is one of his, if not his favorite band. Definitely, he's talked about it over the years. So again, you go back and you look into these OG guys that were either like starting labels or like icons within music, and there's a pretty consistent bunch that will mention
Absolutely.
Thin Lizzy.
Absolutely.
So talk about icons.
There we go.
Mob Rules, Black Sabbath, 1981.
Oh, my
Ronnie
goodness.
James at the helm for his second album with the band. Of course,
Such a great record.
Heaven and Hell preceded this by a year. Again, Mob Rules solidified Black Sabbath's rebirth as heavy metal titans. Absolutely.
For sure.
Featuring
For sure.
Tony Iommi with his crushing riffs, Geezer Butler's thundering bass, and Dio's soaring operatic vocals. The album includes classics like Sign of the
Turn
Southern
up the
Cross,
night.
the title
Your
track,
favorite
Mob
song?
Rules.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite songs, Turn Up the Night.
Yeah. Such a
Love
great
that
song.
track. And that,
Me too.
along with another record that's coming out in 81, which we'll talk about later, interesting enough, in the same year, probably when I was listening to music on cassette or 8-track, really for the first time as far as my earliest memories, other than maybe the Osmonds or something when I was, much younger. I don't know if my parents were the Osmonds fans. They were listening to like Count Basie and Frank Sinatra and things like that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Not all the time either. There it wasn't a big music house for sure, but somewhere obviously I was exposed to it. But yeah, Turn Up the Night off Mob Rules.
Such a great song.
One of my all-time favorite tracks.
Me too.
Love it. Just love the record. Fun fact, maybe not. Martin Birch, the producer. Maybe that's why, because I'm such a fan of Iron Maiden, which we'll talk about in future episodes. Admittedly, when I, and I've done a show on Martin Birch in the past, and I'm sure I included Black Sabbath unless I was a jackass and completely forgot it, which is possible. It can happen, but kind of forgot about what he did in Sabbath. At least I did. Again, if you Google him, again, Martin Birch was, for a while, like the 6th member of Iron Maiden, but he definitely had an impact with Black Sabbath as well in doing these records. Again, what I really loved about Mob Rules, liked Heaven and Hell, but Mob Rules I liked more. And I am more a fan of the Dio era in Sabbath than I ever was of Ozzy era.
I have to agree.
We're talking about Ozzy as well, because 81, he released a fantastic record, which I'm also looking at on my wall. There it is right there. Squirrel, right? No. Anyway.
Dio to me, Dio is like the godfather of heavy metal voice.
Yeah, I think so. It's like, the sound, you look at it, you got Rob Halford, you got, I almost said Bruce Springsteen. Talk about metal. Bruce Dickinson, Ronnie James Dio. If that's like the holy trinity of metal vocalist, right?
Of the biggers.
Of the biggers.
The bigger bands.
Yeah, I would still say that Dio is the number one. Again, love Maiden, love Judas Priest, but
I agree.
Dio for me for all those reasons.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And it's different because I think that Ronnie's way of singing was, I don't know how to put it into words. Ronnie's way of singing was more of I don't want to say soulful. I guess I could say soulful.
Yeah.
But he put so much energy into it as he sang, and when you watch him sing and you can see the way he moves his hands and his body, he was truly the pioneer of heavy metal as far as I'm concerned on vocals.
Agreed. And fortunate enough, I never saw him in Sabbath, unfortunately. Again, because it was, I I didn't start going to shows until like 84. So I missed a boatload of fantastic music. But seeing him solo on Holy Diver and Sacred Heart a few other tours, so good.
Even the song "The Mob Rules" is fun.
Yeah,
It's just that it's like turn up the light. It's like turn up the light. It's just that driving heavy metal, which
it is absolutely
is what drove me to be into heavy metal. It's those songs like that where you're like, yeah, it's for me. And I'm going to make a plug real quick. Scott does a radio show on Tuesdays. It's called No Consideration. It starts at, and I can never remember the time zone. You're 2 hours ahead of me or behind me.
I'm ahead of you. If not, I'd be in the Pacific Ocean somewhere.
4 p.m., 6 p.m.
On 7 Eastern. Time. Yes.
7. Sorry.
No. 7 Eastern. You're right. Sorry for 7 Eastern, 6 Central, which is where we're based outside Nashville, and 4 on the West.
Yeah. So you guys do yourself a favor and please listen to this on Tuesdays. It's a $99. It's such a killer effing radio show because Scott, I don't know what he's going to do. He doesn't tell me what he's going to do, but every show has an element that just draws you in. To me, it's whether he's doing a show about, again, we've talked last week about, it was Jeff Tate's birthday a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm doing a bunch of Queensryche and Jeff Tate solo stuff or whatever. And then it's also the hardcore heavy metal. There's what's called, and this is one's my favorite, and I say this every time, it's called the Triple Thrashback.
Yeah.
Where Scott plays 3 songs of usually, what do you typically like to look for when you do your Triple Thrashback?
Well, definitely it's bands, from the heyday of thrash metal, 84, 85, 86.
Right.
So be it Violence, Forbidden, I'm going to put Dark Angel in there.
Absolutely.
Celtic Frost, maybe go even, a little bit deeper and play like Sodom or anything like that. So again, then you have the classics, Metallica, Slayer, Death Angel will get thrown in there. So Anthrax. So it's just fun. That's probably my favorite. Thank you for mentioning it, by the way.
Absolutely.
That's probably one of my favorite parts of the show. Again, because there's so many memories and we're again, we always talk about probably 5 or 6 additional topics we're going to do on this show, but we're going to dedicate as much as we are. This will be the first of at least a few additional. I think I can easily say that, right, Stephen? A few additional episodes dedicated to 1981 and the bands. And we just want to highlight it. Let me really quick. We'll stop there with Mob Rules. I think let's stop with probably one of the best releases for this week, Stephen. But coming up, we're going to talk about, in no particular order, Motorhead, Saxon, White Snakes. White Snakes. We're going to talk about White Snake too, but maybe
there was
White
a couple
Snakes
members in there, so I guess it could be Snakes.
Yeah, some Foreigner. Foreigner 4 came out in 81. Journey, Escape, Judas Priest, Point of Entry. Some don't like that record. I think it's pretty good. Again, not every song, but there's I'll give a little, as I do, I'll weave a little story in related to Point of Entry. Van Halen, fair warning. I might spend a whole episode on that, Stephen. Ozzy, we teased earlier. Don't even need to tell you the album title if you know Ozzy in 1981. Again, some Genesis, AC/DC, and of course Iron Maiden. We'll wrap up. So in the next 3, we'll probably do another 2 shows on 1981, Stephen. There's just so much that was released in that year that's worthy of a conversation. And, we're always good for a few other topics that we throw in. Certainly in this regard, as always, we appreciate you guys making the time every week. Check us out on Instagram, on YouTube, nothing on Facebook, and it'll probably stay that way. And neither right or wrong. There's just too many sites to keep up with. TikTok's not, well, at least for another 90 days. So we'll just see how all that goes. If we're here as a civilization in 90 days, then maybe TikTok will be there as well. So that's still to be determined.
We will.
Don't read into that or read into it. Doesn't matter. Anything could happen, right? Anything could happen.
That's true.
But, in this regard,
time, my friends.
Yeah. In this regard, it's our pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Stephen, my pleasure is your pleasure.
Oh,
But,
thank you, Scott. I love that we get together and do these, talk about music and life. And I just want to throw a quick plug. I don't know why this just popped in my head. There's a singer out there, and you probably know who his name is. His name is Dino Jaluzik.
Okay.
This guy is the next heavy metal voice coming up. And okay, I'm good. That was it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, but yeah, definitely. I've heard of him. Check it out again.
Yeah.
We also, again, talk about the content on YouTube, again, find Talking. Again, please like, subscribe, leave a comment.
Please.
Share with your friends, all that stuff.
Please.
We will reply to every comment. And depending on how many we get, and maybe this type of episode with this content will prompt a lot of discussion. We wanted to. We're also going to be putting together, it's out there right now. We did a 1975 influenced playlist. So we'll be putting videos. All that's just, on the main page on YouTube. You can find shorts. You can go deep. There's dozens of shorts out there now. There's soon to be 30, 38, 37. Where are we at? 38 episodes, counting
Crazy.
this one.
Crazy.
And and then we'll have playlist inspired by our episodes. We'll put those out. It'll take a little bit longer to pull those together. We're not going to drag in every single song, but certainly the bands that we're talking about on these episodes will probably have multiple volumes. Again, if you just want to, you know what? I kind of forgot about 81. Let's just play a set of songs. Again, you can just, once you watch the show, then you can watch some of the shorts, and then you can jump over and just hit play on that playlist for the songs. It's videos, and you can clean your house. You can sit down and relax, have a nice beverage, whatever.
A lot of the people that subscribe to us that I know say they put us on in the background and it gives them the most entertainment. You don't need to look at us to listen to us.
No. And some may advise against looking at us. So that's why you can listen to it. Certainly on Spotify, it's video episodes. So again, on your phone, and no, do not watch us when you're driving around.
No.
But you can listen to the audio again out there on Spotify. We're posting new episodes every Monday. Again, continuing just to get as many plays. We want to reach out where we can. Again, you can find us on 99W. Yeah, that's it too. 99WNRR.com for merchandise. You can get a T-shirt. You can get sweatshirts. You can get glasses, not glasses, but you can get coffee mugs. You can get pint glasses for your beverage. And we'll probably add some other content out there. Maybe later this year, we'll do an additional design to kind of mix it up as well.
And we're also hinting, we haven't done it yet, with Scott's kid about doing a drum episode. And we're also hinting about doing a punk show.
We need to do that. So and maybe what we'll do, Stephen, I don't know if we can all be in one place. Well, it would be nice in California. I don't know if we can pull it off and do the drum episode,
That'd be fun.
When I'm out there, because we're all in 3 different time zones. But if we're all together in one spot, we might be able to do it. So we'll see how it goes. But definitely we want to do it. And as always, we appreciate you guys making the time each and every week. Again, here's the cool thing. You can click on it. You can pause it. You can rewind it. You can watch it whenever you want. Again, you can download it too. So that way you can take it with you on a flight, on a plane, a train, wherever you want to go, whatever you need to do. We're here. And Stephen, I'm glad you're here. And
absolutely. You too.
Have a great rest of the evening, and
you as well.
Weekend. Until next time, see ya. Thanks again for tuning in to the show. We'll be back every week with a brand new episode. Make sure you check us out on Instagram at Talking Show, and also listen on Spotify or wherever you can stream a podcast. See ya.